not an all-time ranking. This is not an all-time ranking.
It's who do you want right now? Top 10 coaches in the NFL. Let's go.
Well, we always start at 10 and go to 1. So let's start with 10. I would go the Browns head coach, Kevin Stefanski. Now, I know he won Coach of the Year, but the reason he's coming in a little bit lower than some people would have him is that I almost don't trust what's around him. It's a little bit less about him and more about what he has to work with. I don't think Deshaun Watson's a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL anymore. I don't think he's a top 28 quarterback. I think he would be a high-end backup. And that may be a hot take. I just don't think Deshaun is even close to being a starting quarterback in this league. And so to me, that's a problem. This is a coach-quarterback league. They have the coach. They don't have the quarterback, and that does put limitations on what your coach is able to do. But at the end of the day, he does deserve to be on this list. He is a clever offensive coach. They have a defined identity. They're going to run the football, play action fakes. So Kevin Stefanski definitely deserves to be on here. I just can't put him higher because I don't know who the hell is throwing the ball for him.
Yeah, I think, and separating it a little bit, I mean, this is coaching. Yes, the coach-quarterback dynamic means a lot. But what he was able to do with Cleveland, where he was able to take them from where he was hired and now to see what they've become, I think says a lot. And like you said, he doesn't have the best supporting cast. Like, he does not have the best players. He does not have the most talent. But he's found a way to at least turn that organization around, give them an identity, give them a direction.
It's certainly a good roster. Number 9, Dan Campbell. I mean, talk about trending up.
Yeah.
The Lions are on the up and up. Look, I don't think that he is the most clever coach. I don't think he is the most, X's and O's skilled coach. But I also don't think that's all there is to coaching. I think he's a fantastic motivator. I think he's a fantastic leader of men. And I think he knows what he's good at and knows what he's not good at. And I think he's hired a great staff accordingly. And I think you deserve a lot of credit for that because the reason that Nick Sirianni is not on this list is because he hasn't hired a good staff since Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen left him. Mm-hmm. Right? And so now they're turning over more coordinators. And that's just not a problem with Dan Campbell. With Ben Johnson staying, it's a really good staff. So Dan Campbell, the Lions are on the up and up. He deserves to be on this list. Just not higher because I just don't think when push comes to shove, can he out-scheme another coach, him himself? I don't think so. But he's a damn good coach. I worry if the voice will go a little stale, kind of like a lot of motivators tend to, like a Tomlin, for example.
Yeah.
And they plateau into a little bit of kind of average. But I don't think that's coming for another at least couple years. I think they're on the up and up.
Yeah, I think this team is going to be one of the most competitive out of the NFC. Like, this is good. This is going to be a team that competes for it all. You saw it last year. It's not going to change this year.
Yeah, I agree. Number 8 here, John Harbaugh of the Ravens, not the Chargers. That's Jim, for those who get confused. It's a common thing. John Harbaugh at 8. Good coach. You want to talk about, just like I did with Dan Campbell, a coach who knows what he's good at, a coach that knows what he's not good at, and hires weaknesses accordingly. John is fantastic. That has assembled a great staff. And I think that the front office deserves a lot of credit, too. And John's been a fantastic coach. I do worry a little bit if he can get them over the hump to that next level. Obviously, they win a Super Bowl with Flacco. And it's been since they've really made a run at another one. So I do worry if he can get him back there. But absolutely a fantastic coach. Deserves to be on this list. He comes in at 8.
Yeah. Never excited to see his name on the schedule. I don't care who you are. He's going to drop a great scheme, what he's been able to do with Lamar. And people forget, he was able to completely flip that organization from what it was to a completely new way of playing football. Like, completely new identity, rewrite everything for Lamar, and build a team around him. I think it's been super impressive.
No, that
speaks a lot to him.
That's a good point. You're absolutely right, because you can't get a transcendent and very unique quarterback like Lamar and kind of half-ass it. If you get someone like that, your entire scheme, the way you draft, the way you acquire free agents, has to be centered around Lamar, right, and his strengths, and they've done that, and that's a lot of credit to John.
Done a hell of a job.
Yeah, number 7, Shane Steichen, and I know, again, this is not a historical ranking because obviously John would be above Shane Steichen. But Shane Steichen is such a clever offensive coach.
Yep.
I mean, he almost took Gardner Minshew to the playoffs last year. And I'm a Gardner guy, but let's not act like with that roster he should have gotten them close to the playoffs.
No.
And I think the reasoning in this, because this is almost predictive in the sense, but I think you're going to see a really big leap from Anthony Richardson. Granted, I don't think I went out, I think it was last week, I said I think he's going to be a bust. Did I say that about him, or who I said that about?
I'm not sure.
We'll have to go back in the archives. But I think I did go out and go out and say I just don't think he's going to be, a generational guy. I think his injuries are going to get in the way. But I think this year, while he's still fresh and still healthy, you're going to see a dynamic quarterback, and I think a lot of that's due to Shane Steichen. And they don't have a ton of offensive pieces. Their receivers are on the weaker side of the NFL, but he's going to make the most of it, and I will predict they'll have a top 10 offense when they really have probably 17th, 18th, 19th best talent.
I mean, he's a great quarterback creator. He'll make something out of nothing. And I'm not saying Anthony Richardson is nothing. He has the frame. He has, I guess, all the intangibles that you need to be a very good quarterback in this day and age.
We just need the availability.
But I think he has the coach to do it now, too.
I couldn't agree more. Let's go to number 6, Sean Payton. I think that at the end of the day, and maybe this is a little bit of bias from the past, but you saw it last year with getting the most out of Russell Wilson. And he is a really clever offensive coach. He's fantastic. And he has the experience. I know we're not weighing the whole career, but going into the season, I know I have a coach with a little bit more experience. He's been there. He's done that. And I think, I'm not saying Bo Nix is going to be great, but Bo Nix is exactly the quarterback he wants. Accurate, on time, in rhythm. Not going to make any outside of the realm of spectacular plays. Not a ton of turnovers. He's going to make the smart play. So I think that marriage between Sean Payton and Bo Nix is going to be huge, landing Sean Payton at 6th.
Yeah, very smart guy. Very smart coaches. X's and O's wise. Going to out-scheme you. Very strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 5, Matt LaFleur. I think it's evidence of what he did with Jordan Love last year. The first couple weeks, you were like, oh my God, I don't think Jordan Love's a starting quarterback in the NFL. And the next couple weeks, you're like, okay, something, but needs a ton of refinement. And in the last 8 weeks, including the playoffs, he looked like an all-pro, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in football. And I think a ton of that is due to Matt LaFleur. And he's really transformed this team, the post-Mike McCarthy, post-Aaron Rodgers era, into a team that's going to run the football, really good on play action. They're going to be clever. They're going to be prepared. And they have a ton of young talent on the outside, and he has done a great job of incorporating it and doing a really, really good job of getting in the end zone. It sounds crazy, but down in the red zone is where you really, really see the offensive expertise. We'll get to another guy on this list in Super Bowls. How is Sky Moore that wide open? How is Kadarius Toney that wide open?
Great scheming.
Great scheming, and I think Matt LaFleur has a lot of it as well.
Yeah, we saw it live in person. We were there at the Packers game when they were in Pittsburgh. And I think you even said it at one point. We are about to witness a Matt LaFleur masterclass of coaching. And we did. He led them back. The Steelers were up, I think, 2-3 touchdowns. They made it close. They made it a field goal game. Steelers barely won.
I think we were both very unimpressed with Jordan Love at that point and very impressed with Matt LaFleur. Yep. Number 4, Mike McDaniel. I think he is a genius offensively. I think he is on a trajectory to surpass Kyle Shanahan, and because he's a Kyle Shanahan disciple, but is just a mad scientist, man. I get a little bit more leadership vibes out of him than some of the other offensive coaches that can give you a little bit more like evil genius vibes that are just sitting in their office crafting plays. I get a little bit more of a leadership vibe. For example, the whole, hey, we're going to set every clock or every meeting to 8:24 or 7:24 or 4:24, whatever.
24-year playoff drought.
Exactly, right? I just get a little bit more swagger and I hate pizzazz is not the right word.
It's the charisma.
It's
the charisma of Mike McDaniel.
Yes.
The way he's able to bond and mesh with players,
yes,
I think is super important. And I think he's almost trailblazing a new path. Where you always used to see the coaches, the Belichick, super rigid, make sure that you know that they're at the top of the totem pole. Correct. And you don't do anything out of line because you're going to get your ass bit for it.
Right.
But then you see the Mike McDaniel style where, look, we're going to play loose, we're going to play relaxed, we're going to have fun, but we're also going to come in, we're going to kick your teeth in.
Correct. Yeah. No, I like it. And I think he's a fantastic X's and O's coach. You don't think of it, but that is a run-first offense that benefits off of play action, and it works for his team and his personnel. Number 3, I would go Kyle Shanahan. He's just a more refined, more experienced version of Mike McDaniel, offensive genius, runs the football.
Blessed with some more talent,
I was just about to say blessed with a ton of talent, which makes him look even better. Number 2 would be Sean McVay. To me, I know that he does more with a little bit less, or does at least equal with a little bit less than Kyle Shanahan. I think right now, and you even talking about kind of like Mike McDaniel, you get that charisma, that leadership.
Yep.
Sean McVay is arguably, I think he's the second best coach in football.
Well, he's very, very smart too. And if this list is, if we could choose anybody for our team, who would we pick to lead it? I wouldn't want anybody except for Sean McVay, personally. I think he's the smartest. I think he can take you the highest. I think his ceiling is incredibly high. And you can't just throw the experience to the wayside here either. Like, that is
correct.
something
He's
that
been in it. Yeah.
very, very important.
Yeah.
And he's been super successful while he's there.
Yeah, for sure. Number one, I would go with Andy Reid. I think the track record is there. Obviously, again, we're not looking at, a ton of past, but last year having won the Super Bowl, and what he's able to do, and with a quarterback like Mahomes, who people think, oh, Mahomes is so great, that'd be really easy to do. Yes, but you understand Mahomes needed to be sandpapered, needed to be refined. He came in as a very unrefined prospect, and Andy Reid did a ton of that work, and now you still see him reaping the benefits of that with Mahomes. So I would go Reid number one. Let's run back through that. Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel, Matt LaFleur, Sean Payton, Shane Steichen, John Harbaugh, Dan Campbell, and Kevin Stefanski round out the top 10.